Hi, KS3. Welcome back, Mr. Palmer again. So this is the second part of the lesson. We'll be looking at the second part of the story, and I've called this part the aftermath because obviously this is what comes after the incident in the first part of the story. So here are the questions which you answered at the end of the first part, and we'll just go through these answers quickly. So the main character is called Mary Maloney. The description reveals that she is 6 months pregnant, or that she's pregnant. What drink does she prepare for her husband? Put whiskey and soda. If you just put whiskey, then that's fine. What is unusual about the way her husband drank it? He downed it in one go. What job does her husband do? Policeman. She says that because she talks about him coming back from the police station. What does he tell her? Now, this is a inference question because we never actually hear what he says. So I'll leave you to mark if you got that right or not. I've put maybe that he's leaving her or he's having an affair. It's definitely bad news, though. So long as you understood that what he told her was something bad, then that's fine. What is he planning to make? What is she planning to make for supper? A leg of lamb. And what does she do with it instead of cooking it? She hits her husband over the head with it, killing him. And we ended the last bit with her saying, right, so I've killed him. So let's carry on with the story. First, no, you need to do your predictions first, don't you? So, based on the title and what we've read so far, what do you think might happen next? I need to pause here, write at least 2 sentences predicting what will happen next in the story. So pause there. And then let's get on with our reading. It was extraordinary now how clear her mind became all of a sudden. She began thinking very fast. As the wife of a detective, she knew quite well what the penalty would be. That was fine. It made no difference to her. In fact, it would be a relief. On the other hand, what about the child? What were the laws about murderers with unborn children? Did they kill them both, mother and child, or did they wait until the 10th month? What did they do? Mary Maloney didn't know, and she certainly wasn't prepared to take a chance. She carried the meat into the kitchen, placed it in a pan, turned the oven on high and shoved it inside. Then she washed her hands and ran upstairs to the bedroom. She sat down before the mirror, tidied her hair, touched up her lips and face. She tried a smile. It came out rather peculiar. She tried again. "Hello, Sam," she said brightly, aloud. The voice sounded peculiar too. "I want some potatoes, please, Sam." "Yes, and I think a can of peas." That was better. Both the smile and the voice were coming out better now. She rehearsed it several times more. Then she ran downstairs, took her coat, went out the back door, down the garden, into the street. It wasn't 6 o'clock yet, and the lights were still on in the grocery shop. "Hello, Sam," she said brightly, smiling at the man behind the counter. "Why, good evening, Miss Maloney. How are you?" "I want some potatoes, please, Sam." "Yes, and I think a can of peas." The man turned and reached up behind him on the shelf for peas. "Patrick's decided he's tired and doesn't want to eat out tonight," she told him. "We usually go out on Thursdays, you know, and now he's caught me without any vegetables in the house." "And how about meat, Mrs. Maloney?" "No, I've got meat, thanks. I got a nice leg of lamb from the freezer." "Oh." I don't know much like cooking it frozen, Sam, but I'm taking a chance on it this time. Do you think it'll be all right?" "Personally," the grocer said, "I don't believe it makes any difference. You want these Idaho potatoes?" "Oh yes, that'll be fine. 2 of those." "Anything else?" The grocer cocked his head on one side, looking at her pleasantly. "How about afterwards? What are you going to give him for afterwards?" "Well, what would you suggest, Sam?" The man glanced around his shop. "How about a nice big slice of cheesecake? I know he likes that." "Perfect," she said. "He loves it." And when it was all wrapped up and she had paid, she put on her brightest smile and said, "Thank you, Sam. Good night." "Good night, Mrs. Maloney. And thank you." And now, she told herself as she hurried back, all she was doing now, she was returning home to her husband, and he was waiting for his supper, and she must cook it good and make it as tasty as possible because the poor man was tired, and if, when she entered the house, she happened to find anything unusual or tragic or terrible, then naturally it would be a shock, and she'd become frantic with grief and horror. Mind you, she wasn't expecting to find anything. She was just going home with the vegetables. Mrs. Patrick Maloney going home with the vegetables on Thursday evening to cook supper for her husband. That's the way, she told herself. Do everything right and natural. Keep things absolutely natural, and there'll be no need for any acting at all. Therefore, when she entered the kitchen by the back door, she was humming a little tune to herself and smiling. "Patrick," she called, "how are you, darling?" She put the parcel down on the table and went through into the living room. And when she saw him lying there on the floor with his legs doubled up and one arm twisted back underneath his body, it really was rather a shock. All the old love and longing for him welled up inside her, and she ran over to him, knelt down beside him, and began to cry her heart out. It was easy. No acting was necessary. A few minutes later, she got up and went to the phone. She knew the number of the police station, and when the man at the end answered, she cried to him, "Quick, come quick, Patrick's dead." "Who's speaking?" "Mrs. Maloney, Mrs. Patrick Maloney." "You mean Patrick Maloney's dead?" "I think so," she sobbed. "He's lying on the floor, and I think he's dead." "Be right over," the man said. Okay, so that's the end of our second part, and it's a bit shorter, so we've just got 5 questions. Who does Mary practice speaking to in the kitchen? What type of shop does she go to? What does she buy for dessert? What does she pretend to do when she gets home? And what does she do then? So if you either pause or finish now, answer those questions, and then we'll answer them at the start of the next video.